Hi guys, this is gsndon.com and I'm here with a review of the ASUS ZenFone 3 in the ZE520KL version. It's a 5.2-inch handset with upper mid-range specs and it's supposed to be the flagship of the year. However, there's also a ZenFone 3 Deluxe which is superior, so that may be considered the spearhead of the strategy. This is the core phone, the one that gives the ZenFone 3 series name, and it debuted in August this year, and this fall it reached most of the countries and most of the stores all over the world. The basic version of the 5.2-incher is the one with 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage, priced at around $300. If you want the one with 4GB of RAM, which we have here, and 64GB of storage, you have to pay $350, which is excellent considering you're getting a very solid Apple mid-range phone. So the ASUS ZenFone 2 last year was one of the first devices, if not the first one, to bring into mainstream the 4GB of RAM. It was a pretty solid phone, but it was not exactly the looker, which this model actually is. So let's discuss the design. We get a pretty clear evolution from the predecessor. The predecessor was plasticky and quite massive. This is beautiful. We got a glass panel at the back, glass panel at the front, 2.5D glass for that matter, and a beautiful shiny metal frame, which is quite solid and covered with a special material which offers excellent grip. We got Gorilla Glass protection, and the device is available in white, in gold, in blue and black. It's a comfy phone. It's not slippery in spite of using so much glass, and you can even use it with one hand, although you have to have a big hand because it's quite a wide phone. I felt that the back gets smudged quite easily with prints, grease and all that, and the phone measures 7.69mm in thickness, and this is quite slim for current standards. The weight is also excellent. It's 144 grams, which is actually 11 grams less than the Samsung Galaxy A5 2016 that has a vaguely similar design. That one is a bit slimmer by around 0.3 millimeters. So slim, comfy, premium, big upgrade from the predecessor, and the buttons are quite comfy. Now on the display front, this is a gently curved 5.2-inch Full HD screen of the Super IPS Plus kind, and it's supposed to offer only a 2.1mm bezel. It's actually very slim, and since we don't have a video player, I'm going to resort to the gallery to play our usual test video. Here we go. So impressions, we have a bright screen here, but there's a feeling that there's too much white on the screen, so the screen feels a bit exaggeratedly white in that aspect. The colors are well calibrated. We have wide view angles, and the contrast is solid even in full sunlight, but the blacks are not very deep. Luckily you can set everything up and change a bit of the hues and all that from the settings. Let's see other aspects related to the screen. So here we go. We looked at the display under the microscope and we got an RGB stripes pixel setup, and then we proceeded to the brightness test, which was very impressive. Coming from the ZenFone 2, that was a disappointment in the screen department. This is actually a huge result, 547 lux units, each way above the ZenFone 2's 323 lux. It beats the Nexus 6P and the Samsung Galaxy A5 2016, for example. Still, it scores below the Sony Xperia XZ and the iPhone 6, and I promised you settings, special settings for the screen, so let's try and find them. Okay, here we go. A lot of settings here. We got display with the brightness level, font style and size, sleep, LED indicator, and finally screen color mode with options like color temperature. There's also this series of modes that include balance, blue light filter, so it eliminates blue light and lets you sleep better, vivid and customized with two sliders for hue and saturation, so you can get rid of all I mentioned before with that extra white and not so deep black. It's a very solid screen. It's even a top 10 display of the year 2016. Now when it comes to the processing power, you're playing with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 625 here. It's an octa-core CPU, 64-bit, clocked at 2 GHz. There's also the Adreno 506 GPU, and you can buy the phone with either 3 or 4 GB of RAM, or either 32 or 64 GB of storage. There's also micro SD card slot, and everything here is fluid. There's no trace of lag. You can have a ton of apps and games open in the background. Things install fast and open fast, and there's no problem whatsoever. What you will find on the phone are lots of software updates after buying it, meaning that ASUS really cares about your experience. And when it comes to gaming, I was happy with the way the benchmark game Riptide GP Renegade ran here. Okay, let's restore it and enjoy some good old-fashioned hydrojet racing with some pretty solid graphics. And by the way, ASUS caters to the gamers. They're offering this Game Genie feature that lets you boost the speed of the device for gaming. You can also record HD graphics straight from the screen, so you can do a capture of your gameplay with your face filmed with the front camera and the microphone on, and you can even share stuff and stream through Twitch and YouTube, so gamers will be happy. Of course, some people may prefer full HD streaming, but it's only HD for now. Maybe an update will change that. The water looks amazing, the controls handle great, and I don't notice any frame drop or problems, so gaming checks out quite fine. Okay, we're done with the gaming and we're done with that special game tools area. When it comes to the benchmarks, it was a solid experience, and let's see what that means here. So as you can see, we took a ton of screenshots, and first let me start off with the benchmarks. Of course, we have quadrant here, which is actually placing this phone on the 9th spot all time. From all the devices we tested, it's superior to the Galaxy S6 and the S6 Edge, as well as the Huawei Mate 8, and that's no small feature. When it comes to the Antutu 6, we scored here above the HTC One A9 and the ASUS ZenFone 2 Deluxe. Once again, good performance. And when it comes to the 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited, here it is. Once again, a very good score. This one places us above the Huawei Nova Plus, but just a little bit below the Sony Xperia Z3. In Geekbench 4, there was an interesting aspect. So let me find it. Here we go. Has to be this one. Yes, it's Geekbench 4. So surprisingly, we have a huge score in the multi-core subtest. It actually beats the recently tested Sony Xperia XZ that has the Snapdragon 820 processor on board. So everything is solid. I don't have anything to complain about here. Performance is good and there is no overheating, which is also good news. We achieved 35.2 degrees Celsius after running Riptide GPU Renegade, and we achieved 32.9 degrees Celsius after running GFX Bench, so no overheating, everything is clear on that front. Now the ASUS ZenFone 3, the 5.2-inch version we're testing, has a 2650 non-removable battery, which is supposed to offer you 2 hours of talk time after 5 minutes of charging. Now let's see how it did in our test that starts off with the video playback time. So we achieved 9 hours and 43 minutes of continuous HD playback, which is a good result. It's superior to the ASUS ZenFone 2 that had 7 hours and 30 minutes, also superior to the HTC 10 and the Huawei Nova Plus. Still scores below the LG G5 and the ASUS ZenFone 2 Laser if you really want a comparison. The PC Mark test simulates continuous usage. We scored 8 hours and 55 minutes, which is quite a good result, places the phone on the 14th spot all time, beating the Huawei P9 Plus, the Galaxy Note 5 and the Galaxy A7 2016. It scored below the Xperia X Compact, for example. To juice up the phone, you will need 2 hours and 5 minutes to charge it up, which is below the ZenFone 2's 1 hour and 50 minutes. At least the phone charges faster than the iPhone 6, but below the LG G4, for example. As usual, ASUS has provided us with a lot of options related to the battery, and let's go and find them. So we go to the power management, and there is the Auto Star Manager here, which lets us manage the way the apps use up your power and energy and your memory. And then we have the power saver, which has a few sub modes of its own. First, there is a scanning feature which suggests optimization, and it's quite useful to get more juice out of your device. Then we got the modes, so performance and normal, which slightly adjust the CPU and network and brightness. Power saving disables the networks temporarily. Super saving only keeps basic features and disables networks. And customize lets you tweak everything like brightness, network and a few more aspects. You can do a smart switch by battery level, by schedule, and that's about it as far as the battery goes. I'm pretty impressed by it, and it's a clear upgrade from the predecessor. Now on the acoustic front, you can see the speaker right here. It's a 5-magnet speaker with a smart AMP system. It's supposed to be 20% louder than the predecessor and 42% less distorted. We are also promised 24-bit acoustics and 192 kHz playback. Here we go, we have the Play Music as the music player here, and although you will not find any equalizer in it, as usual the audio wizard from ASUS is here to save the day. Now let's actually see what the audio wizard looks like. Here it is. These are the options like movie, gaming, music, outdoor, smart, vocal, and some of them includes an advanced section like volume, bass, treble and dialogue enhance, as well as the 5 slider channel. I'm going to leave it on music and start to actually play some music. Here we go. Okay, so you just felt the changes yourself when accessing those modes. The experience is loud and clear, there's no distortion except from the outdoor mode. We got a very solid bass and excellent rendering of the keys in the song. Now when it comes to the test we did, you know what we do. We use the decibel meter and we achieved a very solid 88.5 decibels, just slightly below the ASUS ZenFone 2's 89.1 decibels at the back. We beat the LG G5, Galaxy S6 Edge and the Galaxy S7, and that's not bad at all. Now the headphones are pretty much the same affair as the predecessor ones. This time they're white. I remember the predecessor having black ones, slightly sloped, comfy in the ear, loud, clear, good bass and isolation, but I've heard a bit louder on other flagships. Now if you connect them to the phone, you can also play with the FM radio. Okay, and you got some options here that appears once the audio jack is connected. So FM radio, here we go. It finds stations kind of hard, but in the end it delivers what it's supposed to. So solid acoustics. We move forward to the camera. Now some great innovation here. The ASUS ZenFone 2, let's face it, was a disappointment in the camera area. The ZenFone 3 makes up for that. We have a 16 megapixel shooter here with f2.0 aperture. There's also 6 element lens and Pixel Master 3.0 technology, and the sensor is the Sony IMX298, the same one from the Huawei Mate 8, the OnePlus 3 and the Xiaomi Mi 5. There's laser focus, there's a sapphire glass protection, optical image stabilization, 4K video, we got face detection autofocus, so all the goodies of a modern camera phone. At the front, 8 megapixel shooter for the selfies with f2.0 aperture, and the camera app starts pretty fast, and I was actually surprised by the speed of its focus. Very fast focus here, pretty fluid zoom, going up to 4x as you can see, and picture taking, I would say reasonably fast, not very fast, just reasonably fast. As usual, ASUS offers us a huge, gigantic, enormous amount of options. We got, of course, starting with HDR, including auto, and then come the actual options. White balance, ISO, exposure, image quality, focusing, again those options for video and so forth, but the core remains the selection of modes. Auto manual, HDR Pro, beautification, super resolution, children, low light, QR code, night, depth of field, effect, selfie, GIF, panorama, miniature, time rewind, smart remove, all smile, slow motion and time lapse. Manual brings a few options of its own: white balance, exposure value, ISO, shutter, focus and the histogram here. So they offer everything. Basically they threw everything in, and the kitchen sink, you have all the options one can dream of when it comes to the camera. Now let's see the gallery and see how the camera did in some situations like indoors, outdoors and at night, for example. So let me start off with the indoor shots and let's see those. We have a huge gallery, mind you, and we are actually present at the launch of the Mafia 3 title, and these are all shots taken indoors, a lot of TV screens, a lot of people, and the HDR auto option was on. I have to say that it's a pretty solid set of pictures, these ones. About 1 in 10 is a bit blurred, and The brightness and colors were quite okay, there was no flickering, and we had the on and off excellent shot here and there. Once again, there were some blurriness, but we were being faced with a huge number of people that were moving and a huge number of screens, so not everybody can be content. Now, the real test was during the day. It was a very sunny day of October, and then let's see what we did. So we took first an HDR shot, which actually made the hue of all the objects and the light better. We have some crisp close-ups following. Excellent level of detail here, quite good colors, pretty well calibrated colors, and once again we took some solid close-ups like this one with a ton of details. Details were not only present in the close-ups but also in the landscape shots, and the selfies were actually very good. There were times when I thought the selfies were better than the ones of the 13 megapixel camera of the Xperia XZ. This is one of the landscape shots. If I'm not mistaken, it's the huge super resolution one where we can keep zooming in because it stitches together a huge number of shots. Anyway, good colors, good lighting, exposure and white balance, but every once in a while the dynamic range will have a few problems here and there, but in the end this camera is certainly superior to the one of the ASUS ZenFone 2. The green, the hues of green that we caught felt just a slightly bit artificial, but aside from that and the strange dynamic range every once in a while, I was happy with the results, with the clarity, the quality, exposure and white balance. Now this panorama was actually taken with the sun in front of us, so it can excuse some of the brightness here. The resolution is decent, 9600 over 992 pixels, it's okayish, pretty crisp, and speaking of crisp, excellent shot of a monument. If you zoom in, pretty good details being kept. Several more shots here, and aside from the dynamic range inconsistencies, everything checks out quite fine. It's able to fight the Huawei Nova Plus on equal terms. It has the advantage of more capture modes, and I feel that it's superior to the Samsung Galaxy A5 2016, at least in the area of colors and maybe also the focusing. Those are daytime shots. Now let's see the nighttime shots, because we also have low light capture. So here we go. They're very clean and very clear. The flash was excellent, and these street light halos aren't very big, which is nice, but every once in a while in the corners of the image you could find some violet or blue hues, just like this on Xperia XZ I kept mentioning. Although the streetlight halos may seem big, I've seen much bigger than that, and these ones are actually pretty okay. We got an excellent texture of the buildings, monuments and such things, and check out the brightness of these nighttime shots, which is excellent. The camera is able to catch quite a bit of light. It's superior to the Galaxy A7 2016 and not very far from the Xiaomi Mi 5, and everything is bright. Now in the video department we filmed in Full HD, MP4, 30 frames per second and 20 mega per second bitrate, and we have some indoor shots. This is one of them. This is actually shot in HDR with a ton of lights around and people moving, and I have to say it handles that slight exposure change quite well. Crisp, good colors, and when you zoom in, it's true that details will be lost, but not in a huge way. Now let's move outside and see how the video goes there. This one provides excellent clarity. We zoomed in, and with a bit of careful focusing, the details look excellent even at maximum zoom. In the end, there was a bit of color flickering, but only in the end. I was reasonably happy with the colors, maybe minus the hues of green. The 4K video we did was a 42 mega per second one, was very crisp, it looked excellent, and I really have nothing to complain about when it comes to that 4K clip, which is this one here. Excellent clarity, and we also did the stabilization test, walking around, ascending some stairs. While it's pretty solid, there's a bit of image flickering at some point, and I've seen better stabilization on other phones. It's a step up from the predecessor, that's for sure. It manages to maintain clarity, but that flicker in the background can be a bit annoying. One thing you also have to remember is that the microphone is very solid when recording video. It beats all the previous Zen phones. Mind that, I'd say it also beats the LG G4 and 80% of all Huawei phones. It remains below the iPhone 7 and the Galaxy S7 for example, but not by very much. So let's see some low light video samples, because we also have those. I'm guessing they're at the top of the pile. Yes, here they are. So low light video capture. It's this one here. I have to say I've seen better than that. There's lots of flickering, it's a bit dark, street light halos are okay, the clarity is good and the colors are realistic, but that amount of flickering and darkness is not very impressive. In the end, it's a huge jump from the ZenFone 2 and it's not very much below the current 2016 flagships, and that says a lot for the evolution of the ASUS phones. Now when it comes to the browsing, we are provided with Chrome here. Let's load up gsmdom.com. Chrome is being reasonably fast as usual, has pretty decent benchmark results in SunSpider, Velamo and the works. We get a big keyboard here with pretty big keys, numeric row, and the option to swipe around letters to do stuff, and also a ton of options for the keyboard. You can see here themes, extras, and editing and emoji and more. On the connectivity front, you should probably know this is a dual SIM phone with LTE category 7 support. We also have one USB Type-C port at the bottom. There's Wi-Fi B, G and AC. We also have Bluetooth 4.2, Wi-Fi Direct, GPS and GLONASS, and the first SIM is a micro SIM, the second one is a nano SIM, which can also be used to store the micro SD card slot. When it comes to the phone calls, I have to say we got a pretty solid experience, loud calls, clear, good signal and nice noise cancelling, and also ASUS has a ton of options for you. We got call recording, speed dial, there are settings here, you can see for yourself that you can do a lot of stuff call wise and connectivity wise on this device. Now let's talk about the speed test, because we had excellent values here. We got up to 189 megapixel in download via Wi-Fi and up to 25 megapixel in upload, quite fine. And in 4G LTE, 60 megapixel and 45 respectively. Excellent results for an upper mid-range phone, and a huge Wi-Fi result, probably the best I've ever seen on a tested phone. So time to discuss the OS, UI and the applications. We're dealing here with Android Marshmallow with Zen UI 3.0 on top. I have to admit, not much has changed from last year. We have a minimal UI, there are colorful icons and a huge amount of customization. Multitasking includes a carousel, and we have the options to pin apps or close everything and free some memory. If you keep the screen pressed, you get the manage home area. You can toy with the apps and widgets. Widgets are, let's say, 50% stock, 50% minimalistic ones from ASUS. And then we have the home edit, which lets you toy with pages, icon size, alignment, scroll effects, font size, icon label and select font. Once again, a huge amount of options. Wallpapers and icon packs are here. And guess what? We also have a theme store that's pretty complex, and it features Halloween stuff because it's Halloween almost. Okay, let's see what else. So lock apps, preferences. Again with the customization, you can tweak folders, animations, app locks, badges, etc. So if you want to customize your phone, you can make it look unique compared to other devices out there. Now if you swipe down, you can trigger the search. You can search stuff online with trending, you can search apps, and you can search on Google. Other things worth mentioning: if you pinch, you get these options here. If you swipe down, we get the notifications and the quick settings, the usual bubbles from Zen UI. It includes options like flashlight, power boost, and etc. Now in the settings area, connectivity options, do not disturb, ASUS cover, Zen motion with a series of familiar gestures like drawing letters to launch apps, double tap to wake, several more here, and one hand mode, which involves double tapping the home key to activate the one hand operation, which simulates a smaller diagonal. Okay, then there is the ASUS customized settings, which associates a screenshot to the holding of the recent keys pressed, themes, lock screen, easy mode, kids mode, and finally, last but never least, the fingerprint scanner. It looks quite sexy, it's shaped like a keyhole maybe, and let's fire it up and see just how fast it is. You can also use the fingerprint scanner to answer calls, launch the camera, capture a pic, and more. So you have to secure it with a pin. Okie dokie. And add the fingerprint, and the process starts like this. Come on. That's what I'm doing right now. Here we go, 100%, reasonably fast, we're done. And now time to unlock the device, selected. If you try to unlock it like this and put the wrong finger on it, no fingerprint or swipe to unlock, and then you put the right finger and it's all okay. Let's try it from a 90-degree angle. Unlocked. Let's try it again. Unlocked. Quite fast, as you can see. Voila. Okay, now let's go further. Now when it comes to the applications, you probably expect to see some bloatware here, and yes, once again Zen UI features bloatware. We got 51 pre-installed apps, but lately ASUS has started removing some bloatware from the older phones and probably will from the new ones as well, so thumbs up for that. Now the apps are familiar here. We got the do it later concept you already know from previous devices. Instagram, there is a very nifty laser ruler which actually measures the distance to certain objects, so let's measure the distance to my finger. 19 centimeters, getting it closer, 17 centimeters, and very close for a 17 centimeters reading again. So cute feature. Anyways, we also have a mini movie to create a collage video from your pics, photo collage, quick memo, splendid system update, themes, TripAdvisor, sheets, and all that. I could not find Supernote here, which is intriguing because it was one of the best apps from ASUS phones. Anyways, bloatware, that's what you must remember, but I have a good feeling that we'll get rid of it pretty soon. Now, when it comes to the verdict, it's time for it right now. So on the Pro side, we have a great design here, premium design, a pretty bright screen, also good battery. The camera is a huge upgrade from the predecessor, good performance, loud volume, solid microphone, fast Wi-Fi, lots of customization for the UI, and a cute gaming feature that lets you stream to Twitch and YouTube. On the cons side, the back is a fingerprint magnet. There are actually too many options all over the menus, the camera, the UI, and so forth. A bit of bloatware, some dynamic range problem in pictures and the videos, and that flickering. The videos during the nighttime were a bit of a letdown, and Zen UI has not changed exactly a lot from last year. This remains one of the best upper mid-range phones of the year 2016, with one of the top 10 screens, one of the top 10 cameras. It also caters to gamers, which not many companies do nowadays. It caters to audiophiles with those customization options, which frankly speaking I haven't seen on any flagship this year, and it caters to movie watchers with a big battery. It reminds me of the Galaxy S4 that offered too many features. It's probably the fear of the company of not being loved. Don't worry ASUS, this phone will be loved. So the ASUS ZenFone 3 is a hit. It's an evolution from the ZenFone 2, and it's a big threat to the Galaxy A5 2016 and the Huawei Nova, its main rivals. This is it from gsno.com. Bye bye.